There are moments in life when you feel watched, not by eyes you can see, but by forces that study your progress, track your patterns, and wait for your weakness. You try to move forward, but something resists you. You attempt to rise, but unseen opposition pushes back. Today, I stand to announce to you with boldness and authority, every monitoring force assigned to study your life is about to lose its access. There is power in spiritual symbolism. There is power in prophetic action. And there is power in obedience backed by faith. When you take simple physical steps with deep spiritual understanding, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. These three powerful herbs represent more than plants. They represent purification, authority, and divine covering. The first represents cleansing. There are residues that cling to people, residues of past failures, spoken words, inherited limitations. Sometimes it is not that you are weak, it is that something old is still attached. When you engage in symbolic cleansing with intention and prayer, you are declaring every negative imprint, every unseen tag placed upon my destiny be erased. And as water washes the body, faith washes the spirit. The second represents authority. Monitoring forces thrive where there is ignorance. They operate where people feel powerless. But the moment you rise in spiritual awareness and declare your identity, the atmosphere responds. When you bathe with understanding, not superstition, but revelation, you are making a statement in the realm of the unseen. I am not a victim. I am guarded. I am shielded. Authority is not noise. Authority is confidence in divine backing. The third represents divine separation. There are seasons when you must disconnect spiritually from patterns that keep repeating. Delay after delay, near success, but no breakthrough. Almost there, but never fully there. When you perform a prophetic act with faith, you are drawing a line. You are saying from today, there is a separation between me and every force that studies me for evil. And what cannot cross divine boundaries must retreat. But hear me clearly. The real power is not in the herbs themselves. The real power is in your faith, your intention, and your spiritual alignment. Without faith, it is just water. Without understanding, it is just routine. But with revelation, it becomes a declaration. There are people whose progress has been slowed because they move physically but never address things spiritually. They upgrade their skills but ignore their spiritual atmosphere. They change locations but carry the same unseen weight. Today, that cycle must break. When you engage in symbolic cleansing, do it with bold declarations. Speak life over yourself. Reject fear. Cancel every unseen surveillance over your destiny. Announce that your future is not open for demonic inspection. Declare that your dreams are shielded. Declare that your family is covered. Declare that your opportunities will no longer be intercepted. The moment you rise with confidence, something shifts. Darkness cannot operate comfortably around light. Monitoring forces lose clarity when confronted by spiritual awareness. What used to track you begins to lose signal. But this is not just about one action. It is about a lifestyle of vigilance. Guard your thoughts. Guard your words. Guard your environment. Fill your space with worship, gratitude, discipline, and purpose. A life filled with light becomes too hot for darkness to monitor. Some of you have felt unusual resistance lately. Unexplainable setbacks. Patterns that do not make sense. This is not the time to panic. This is the time to rise. This is the time to take back spiritual control. This is the time to stand boldly and declare that your destiny is protected. Enough of silent battles. Enough of hidden delays. Enough of invisible interference. Today you draw the line. Stand up in faith. Take prophetic action with understanding. Speak boldly over your life. Refuse to be spiritually passive. Refuse to allow unseen forces to study what God has blessed. Lift your voice. Strengthen your spirit. Take intentional steps. And from this day forward, walk with the confidence of someone who knows they are covered, guarded, and untouchable. What if the reason you keep fighting the same battles is not because you are weak, but because you are unaware? What if the real problem is not the obstacle in front of you, but the blindness behind you? Listen carefully. Ignorance is expensive. And in life, the price of ignorance is repeated pain. Many people walk through life reacting to problems instead of recognizing patterns. They call it bad luck. They call it coincidence. They say, it just happens to me. But when something keeps happening again and again, it is no longer coincidence. It is a pattern. And patterns do not break by accident. They break by awareness. When you become aware, your eyes open. You stop moving casually. You begin to observe your life with intentional focus. You start asking questions. Why does this delay keep repeating? Why does this opportunity collapse at the final moment? Why does fear attack me right before I make progress? Awareness shifts you from being a victim of events to being a student of your own life. And hear this. What you can see clearly, you can confront boldly. A person who lacks awareness fights shadows. A person who has awareness fights strategically. There is a difference between swinging in the dark and targeting with precision. When your mind is alert, you stop overreacting emotionally and start responding wisely. You become sensitive to atmospheres. You notice when negativity enters your space. You detect when your thoughts are being pulled in a destructive direction. Hook this in your spirit. The enemy of progress loves distraction. If you are constantly distracted, you will never detect what is draining you. Awareness teaches you to slow down and pay attention. It teaches you to listen beyond noise. Sometimes the resistance you feel is not physical exhaustion, it is mental pressure. Sometimes the anxiety you experience is not random, it is triggered by something you tolerated without noticing. Awareness allows you to identify triggers, influences, and repeated cycles before they grow. You cannot fix what you refuse to examine. This is why self-reflection is powerful. When you sit quietly and evaluate, you begin to see connections. You see how certain environments weaken your confidence. You see how certain conversations reduce your motivation. You see how certain habits quietly sabotage your growth. Awareness is not condemnation, it is illumination. It shines light on hidden corners of your life, and light changes everything. Darkness thrives where there is ignorance. The moment light enters a room, darkness does not argue. The moment awareness enters your life, confusion begins to fade. You stop blaming everyone around you. You stop feeling powerless. You start taking responsibility for your space, your choices, your reactions. Ask yourself, am I living intentionally, or am I just existing thereby? When awareness becomes your weapon, you become disciplined. You guard your thoughts because you understand that thoughts shape actions. You guard your circle because you understand that influence shapes identity. You guard your time because you understand that time shapes destiny. Suddenly, life is no longer random. It becomes deliberate. Awareness sharpens discernment. Discernment helps you know when to speak and when to remain silent. It helps you know when to pursue and when to pause. It protects you from unnecessary battles. Many conflicts in life are not attacks, they are distractions. And without awareness, you will waste energy fighting the wrong wars. Catch this deeply. Awareness gives you control, and your response determines your direction. When you are aware, you refuse to repeat mistakes carelessly. You refuse to tolerate patterns that reduce your potential. You rise above emotional reactions and choose strategic action. The moment you become aware, you become dangerous to limitation. What if the reason nothing new is happening in your life is because something old is still attached to you? What if you are praying for elevation while carrying residues from yesterday? Listen carefully. You cannot step into a new season while holding on to an old atmosphere. See what cleansing breaks old cycles. There are cycles that repeat so subtly that you begin to think they are normal. The same type of disappointment, the same kind of delay, the same emotional crash. After progress, it becomes familiar, and familiarity makes it comfortable. But just because something is familiar does not mean it is healthy. Sometimes the greatest enemy of your breakthrough is what you have gotten used to. Hook this in your spirit. Repetition is a sign that something was never properly removed. Old cycles survive on residue. Residue of past failures, residue of negative words spoken over you, residue of fear that was never confronted. You may have moved physically, but spiritually and mentally, traces remain. And those traces quietly influence your decisions, your expectations, and even your confidence. Cleansing is not about superstition. It is about intention. It is about declaring that what used to control you will not follow you into your future. It is an internal reset, a conscious decision that says, I refuse to carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's opportunities. Think about this. How many times have you approached something new, expecting it to fail because the last one failed? That expectation is residue. How many times have you held back your full effort because you were afraid of being disappointed again? That hesitation is residue. Cleansing begins when you identify those hidden attachments and decide they no longer have permission to stay. The mind is powerful. If it is filled with old pain, it will produce old results. If it is filled with renewed belief, it will produce new outcomes. Cleansing starts in your thinking. You begin by challenging the narratives you have accepted. Nothing ever works for me. I am always unlucky. People always betray me. These statements are not facts. They are patterns reinforced by repetition. And repetition can be broken. Hook this deeply. You are not cursed with repetition. You are called to transformation. Transformation requires a deliberate break. It requires courage to say, this cycle ends with me. Maybe in your family, there has always been financial struggle. Maybe in your personal life, there has always been rejection. Maybe in your journey, there has always been delay. Cleansing means you stand up and say, I recognize the pattern and I refuse to continue it. Old cycles also survive through environment. If you stay in spaces that constantly remind you of past failure, you will unconsciously recreate it. If you surround yourself with voices that doubt your growth, your mind will hesitate. Sometimes cleansing requires changing what you listen to, what you watch, and who you allow into your confidence. Ask yourself, what am I tolerating that is quietly shaping my outcomes? Cleansing is also emotional. Unforgiveness is residue. Bitterness is residue. Silent anger is residue. You may smile outwardly, but inwardly there is a weight. That weight slows progress. When you release old pain, you create space for new strength. When you let go of resentment, you free your energy for growth. Hear this clearly. You cannot heal what you refuse to release. Every new level demands a lighter version of you. The heavier you are with past disappointments, the harder it is to rise. Cleansing removes unnecessary weight. It strengthens your focus. It sharpens your confidence. It prepares you for opportunities that would have overwhelmed the old you. Sometimes the breakthrough you are waiting for is waiting for you to reset internally. The opportunity is ready, but your mindset is not. The door is open, but your fear is louder than your faith. Cleansing silences that fear. It reminds you that your past is information, not identity. When you cleanse intentional, you, through reflection, prayer, discipline, and renewed thinking, you send a powerful message to your future. I am ready for something different. What if the reason pressure keeps overpowering you is not because you lack power, but because you have not used it? What if you have been sitting on authority that heaven already approved? Listen carefully. Unused authority invites unnecessary oppression. Authority must be exercised. There is a difference between having power and activating power. Many people pray for strength, yet they already carry it. Many people cry for deliverance, yet they have been given dominion over their space, their thoughts, and their responses. The tragedy is not weakness, it is ignorance of authority. Hook this deeply. What you fail to confront will assume control. Authority begins in mindset. If you see yourself as small, life will treat you as small. If you see yourself as powerless, every challenge will look bigger than you. But the moment you understand that you are designed with capacity, resilience, and divine backing, your posture changes. You stop shrinking in the face of difficulty. You start negotiating with fear. You start standing firm. Authority is not arrogance. It is awareness of position. A police officer does not look powerful because of physical size. The uniform represents backing. The badge represents system support. In the same way, your authority is not about shouting louder than your problems. It is about knowing who stands behind you. Confidence rooted in identity carries weight in every room you enter. Ask yourself, when challenges appear, do I retreat or do I respond? Many people retreat because they do not trust their own voice. They feel intimidated by pressure. But authority requires expression. When negative thoughts whisper, you must answer back. When doubt suggests failure, you must counter it with conviction. Silence in moments of internal attack strengthens the attack. Speaking truth weakens it. Hook this. Authority grows when exercised, not when admired. The more you practice confidence, the stronger it becomes. The more you challenge fear, the smaller it feels. The first time you confront insecurity, your voice may shake. The second time, it becomes steadier. The third time, it becomes natural. Authority develops through repetition of bold decisions. Some people wait for perfect conditions before they stand firm. But authority is proven in imperfect situations. It is easy to feel strong when everything is calm. True authority shows up when pressure rises. When others panic, you remain centered. When confusion spreads, you remain clear. That calm confidence is not accidental. It is trained. Authority also requires boundaries. If you allow everything into your mental space, you will feel overwhelmed. If you allow every opinion to shape your identity, you will feel unstable. Exercising authority means deciding what deserves your attention and what does not. Not every criticism requires your response. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. Authority helps you filter. Hear this clearly. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. You tolerate disrespect. Disrespect grows. If you tolerate self-doubt, self-doubt deepens. But when you set firm boundaries internally and externally, something shifts. You begin to command respect because you respect yourself. You begin to attract stability because you embody stability. Hook this powerfully. Authority is not noise. It is presence that comes from someone who knows who they are. They do not need to prove themselves constantly. They do not crumble under small opposition. Their stability unsettles chaos. That presence is developed when you consistently choose courage over comfort. 4:30. Authority must also be exercised in discipline. It is easy to declare confidence. It is harder to live consistently. When you wake up early to pursue your goals, you are exercising authority over laziness. When you control your reactions instead of exploding emotionally, you are exercising authority over impulse. When you stay focused despite distractions, you are exercising authority over your environment. Every time you choose growth over excuses, you strengthen your dominion. Challenges will always test you. Pressure will always try to measure your stability. But when you understand your authority, you stop seeing challenges as threats. You start seeing them as opportunities to demonstrate who you have become. What if the reason negativity keeps entering your life is because you never close the door? What if the stress, the confusion, the repeated frustration is not attacking you randomly, but accessing you freely? Listen carefully. Accesses everything. Separation creates protection. Not everything that comes near you is meant to stay with you. Not every voice deserves influence. Not every environment deserves your presence. But if you never draw a line, everything will feel entitled to your space. And what has access to you has influence over you. Hook this deeply. Whatever you refuse to separate from will eventually shape you. It is wisdom. It is the courage to say, this may be familiar, but it is not beneficial. Many people struggle because they are emotionally attached to things that are mentally draining them. They keep conversations that reduce their confidence. They keep habits that sabotage their discipline. They keep relationships that normalize mediocrity. And then they wonder why growth feels heavy. You cannot rise while holding on to what pulls you down. Separation begins internally before it shows externally. First, you must decide that you deserve better. You must believe that peace is worth protecting. You must understand that your destiny is too valuable to expose carelessly. When you recognize your worth, you stop granting unlimited access to limited influences. Ask yourself, who or what has unrestricted access to my mind? Because access is powerful. The words you hear repeatedly become the thoughts you think automatically. The environments you stay in repeatedly become the standards you accept unconsciously. If you remain around doubt long enough, doubt feels normal. If you remain around fear long enough, fear feels logical. Separation interrupts that normalization. Hook this strongly. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. Distance from noise, distance from negativity, distance from distractions. It may feel uncomfortable at first because you are breaking familiarity. But discomfort is often a sign of transformation. When you separate intentionally, you create space for clarity. Separation is also about boundaries. Boundaries are invisible lines that protect your peace. When you decide that certain behaviors are unacceptable, you create protection. When you decide that certain conversations will not continue, you create protection. When you decide that certain habits no longer align with your future, you create protection. Protection is not automatic. It is enforced. Many people pray for safety but ignore boundaries. They ask for stability but entertain chaos. They desire growth but feed distractions. Separation requires discipline. It requires saying no when yes would be easier. It requires walking away when staying would be comfortable. Hook this into your spirit. Your future depends on what you disconnect from today. Every level of growth demands a new circle. Every new season demands new circle. Every new season demands new standards. The mindset that sustained you in survival mode cannot sustain you in expansion mode. The people who understood you in struggle may not understand you in ambition. Separation is not rejection. It is realignment. Realignment means positioning yourself where you can thrive. It means choosing environments that challenge you positively. It means engaging with voices that inspire progress. It means filling your time with actions that push you forward. When you separate from what drains you, you suddenly feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because you removed unnecessary weight. Separation also protects your focus. Distraction is subtle. It rarely announces itself loudly. It comes as entertainment, casual conversation, temporary comfort. But over time, it steals momentum. When you intentionally limit distractions, your productivity increases. When you guard your attention, your results improve. Focus is protected through separation. Ask yourself honestly, what is costing me my peace? Because peace is expensive. It requires tough decisions. It requires letting go. It requires closing doors that once felt important. But once you enforce separation, you notice a shift. Your mind becomes clearer. Your confidence becomes stronger. Your direction becomes sharper. when you control access, you control influence. And when you control influence, you control direction. What if the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is not the size of the obstacle, but the depth of your belief? What if you have been doing the right things with the wrong heart? Listen carefully. Action without faith is movement without momentum. Faith activates every action. You can wake up early, work hard, plan carefully, and still feel stuck if your inner belief is weak. Because faith is the force that gives your action power. It is the invisible energy that pushes wide our effort beyond limits. Without faith, you will stop at the first sign of resistance. With faith, you will push until something shifts. Hook this deeply into your spirit. Doubt cancels what discipline starts. You may start strong, motivated, excited, but if doubt whispers louder than belief, your consistency will collapse. Faith is what keeps you steady when results are slow. It is what keeps your mouth speaking positively when circumstances look negative. It is what helps you see possibility when others only see problems. Faith is not blind optimism. It is confident expectation. It is waking up and believing that your effort matters. It is studying and believing that understanding will come. It is trying again after failure because you believe improvement is possible. When faith is active, you interpret challenges differently. Instead of saying, this is happening to stop me, you say, this is happening to strengthen me. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about my future? Because your belief system shapes your behavior. If you believe success is rare, you will hesitate. If you believe greatness is for others, you will shrink. But if you believe growth is possible for you, your posture changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You decide differently. Hook this powerfully. Your words reveal your faith level. Listen to how you speak under pressure. Do you say, I cannot handle this? Or do you say, I will figure this out? The difference may sound small, but it is powerful. Faith-filled words create resilience. Doubt-filled words create weakness. Doubt-filled words create weakness. Your mouth must align with your mission. Faith also transforms ordinary actions into powerful declarations. When you study with faith, it is not just reading, it is preparation for impact. When you work with faith, it is not just labor, it is sowing for harvest. When you pray with faith, it is not just speaking, it is engaging with expectation. Many people perform routines without conviction. They go through motions without intention. And when results delay, they quit because there was no deep belief anchoring them. Faith gives you staying power. It allows you to endure discomfort because you trust the outcome. Hook this into your mind. Faith sustains you when feelings fluctuate. Feelings change daily. Some mornings you feel confident, Other mornings you feel uncertain. If you rely only on emotion, your progress will be unstable. Faith is deeper than emotion. It is a decision to trust the process even when you cannot see immediate evidence. Faith also removes fear of failure. When you truly believe that every experience adds value, failure loses its power to intimidate you. You attempt bigger things. You take calculated risks. You step into rooms that once scared you. Not because you are reckless, but because you are convinced that growth is guaranteed through effort. Ask yourself, honestly, am I acting from fear or from faith? Because both create different results. Fear makes you hesitate. Faith makes you initiate. Fear magnifies obstacles. Faith magnifies solutions. Fear focuses on what could go wrong. Faith focuses on what could go right. When faith is active, patience increases. You understand that meaningful progress takes time. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop rushing your development. Instead, you trust that consistent effort, backed by belief, will produce evidence. Faith does not deny reality. It redefines it. It sees difficulty and declares development. It sees delay and declares preparation. It sees opposition and declares opportunity. And when your actions are fueled by that level of belief, they carry a different weight. They move differently. They endure longer. They press harder. They refuse to bow under temporary pressure. What if the reason many breakthroughs disappear is not because they were fake, but because they were not maintained? What if your greatest victories faded simply because you stopped guarding them? Listen carefully. Starting strong is common, but staying strong is rare. Consistency maintains victory. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can be disciplined for a week. But transformation belongs to those who show up when excitement fades. The real test of growth is not how loudly you start, it is how faithfully you continue. Hold this deeply. What you do occasionally brings results, but what you do consistently builds identity. A single powerful decision can shift your direction, but repeated powerful decisions shape your destiny. When you pray once, you may feel inspired. When you pray consistently, you build spiritual stamina. When you study once, you may learn something small. When you study daily, you develop mastery. Consistency compounds effort into impact. Many people sabotage their own progress because they depend on mood. When they feel good, they work hard. When they feel tired, they slow down. When they feel discouraged, they quit. But feelings are unstable. If you build your future on emotion, it will collapse under pressure. Discipline must be stronger than mood. Ask yourself, do I act based on commitment or convenience? Consistency is commitment in action. It is choosing your goals over temporary comfort. It is waking up what? And you would rather sleep. It is practicing when you would rather relax. It is focusing when distractions are calling your name. Victory is maintained through small daily choices that no one applauds. Hook this powerfully. Greatness is hidden in repetition. Feels boring. It feels ordinary. It feels ordinary, but repetition builds strength. Athletes repeat drills. Musicians repeat scales. Scholars repeat study sessions. Why? Because repetition creates stability, and stability creates reliability. When you are reliable, you become unstoppable. Consistency, Stasi, also protects you from relapse. You may overcome fear once, but if you stop reinforcing confidence, fear can creep back in. You may break a negative habit once, but if you stop guarding your mind, that habit can return. Victory must be defended daily. Think about this. Weeds grow automatically, but gardens require maintenance. Negativity is like weeds. If you ignore your thoughts, negative patterns can grow again. If you neglect your discipline, laziness can return. If you stop separating from distractions, confusion can resurface. Maintenance requires awareness and intentional action. Hook this into your spirit. Small compromises today create big setbacks tomorrow. One skipped routine becomes two. Two become a habit, and soon you find yourself back where you started. But the opposite is also true. One disciplined day becomes two. Two become momentum. Momentum becomes transformation. The direction depends on your consistency. When you keep promises to yourself, your self-trust increases. When you follow through on commitments, you feel stronger internally. That strength reflects in your decisions. You stop doubting yourself because you have evidence of reliability. Ask yourself honestly, can I trust myself to finish what I start? Bathe. Because trust in yourself fuels courage. And courage fuels growth. When you know you will show up no matter what, fear loses its grip. Challenges feel less threatening because you are stable. Stability intimidates obstacles. Consistency also sharpens focus. When you repeatedly invest time in one direction, distractions lose their appeal. You become clear about your mission. You stop chasing every opportunity. You stop jumping from one idea to another. You stay planted long enough to see fruit. Victory is not loud every day. Some days are quiet. Some days feel slow. But quiet progress is still progress. Slow development is still development. What matters is that you refuse to stop. When consistency becomes your lifestyle, success is no longer accidental. It becomes predictable. It becomes structured. It becomes inevitable through disciplined persistence.